Narcissistic siblings can be among the worst bullies. They are only concerned about their own needs, and they have no empathy for how their behavior affects their brothers and sisters. They can be extremely cruel in a way that other narcissists in the family or among your friends cannot. They know things about you that other people don't, and they use that information against you every time they need to manipulate you. So how can you protect yourself? My narcissistic mother was always invading my privacy and inserting herself into my life. Narcissistic siblings can be even worse. They know you in more intimate ways than your parents can know you, and they will use that knowledge to create drama and attempt to control you. That's why you need a strategy for protecting yourself. It's all about boundaries, so let's discuss how to set and maintain them. Number 1, limit the time you spend with your narcissistic sibling. When you're dealing with a narcissist, you always have to allow for the possibility that you will want to cut off all contact to get away from the abusive behavior. That should be an option with your narcissistic siblings, but barring that, you can still limit the amount of time you spend with them. You can determine when, for how long, and how often you will get together with them. You can do this as a child or as an adult. While your parents may have you spend time together as a family, you can regulate how much time you spend with them otherwise. As an adult, you can spend as much or as little time together as you choose. Limiting your time together can help you stay focused on positive things and can limit their abusive behavior toward you. This helps to limit the amount of time you're exposed to their toxic behavior, and it also sends them a message that you're not willing to spend that much time with someone who mistreats you. Number 2, no abuse zone. One of the strongest boundaries you'll want to insist upon is that you won't accept any abusive treatment. It will be tedious at first to enforce this boundary because your narcissistic sibling will violate it all the time. You have to be persistent, however, or it won't work. When they start behaving in an abusive manner, just say something like, "This is not something I want to hear or discuss with you. I find it abusive and I'm going to leave now." Your narcissistic sibling may try to argue with you by saying they didn't intend anything by what they were saying, or they may try to gaslight you by saying you're too sensitive or that you took it the wrong way. They may also say something like, "What? What did I do?" Don't encourage them any further, just get up and go. Arguing with them will get you nowhere, and if you try to justify your sense of what happened, you will empower their gaslighting. If you stay consistent, they will eventually get the message and may modify their behavior. If they don't, it may be worthwhile to consider going no contact. Number 3, don't call them a narcissist. If you try to call them a narcissist, they will simply deny it. They won't recognize that they have such a problem, and in fact, they may begin projecting their own problems onto you. Many narcissistic siblings will insist that their other siblings or their parents are narcissists, not them. Narcissists typically don't recognize that they have a problem. Instead, they play the role of the victim. In their mind, everyone else is mistreating them. They aren't doing anything wrong. Everyone else is. They can't accept responsibility for their own actions, so admitting they have a problem is not something their fragile sense of self can withstand. Trying to label them as narcissists won't get you anywhere with them, and they will likely project that back on you. It's better to know it for yourself and refrain from putting labels on them. When you know what you're dealing with, you really don't need them to know it in order to deal with it effectively. Number 4, identify your choices in every situation. In every interaction with your narcissistic siblings, you will have choices. They might be more limited, but you will always have choices. The first thing to do when you're dealing with a narcissist is to identify what your choices are, and then you can decide which is the best choice to make. For example, If they are trying to gaslight you, you can listen to them, call them out on their gaslighting, or leave the interaction. Listening to them means exposing yourself to toxicity for likely a lengthy amount of time. Calling them out means keeping what is ultimately a futile argument going, and leaving gets you out of the situation. Even if leaving means leaving the family gathering, it may be your best choice. In every situation, you have to remember you always have choices. Once you know that, you can identify what's available for you and make the best choice for your situation. Number 5. Point out your narcissistic sibling's choices. Often, your narcissistic sibling will present themselves as the victim, whether they are a victim of circumstances or some villainous actor. But they also have choices they can make. I have a friend with a narcissistic sister who always claims she's subjected to the constant abuse of her parents. My friend finds her parents to be kind, well-adjusted people, and it distresses her to hear this. She has tried on several occasions to convince her sister that her parents have done nothing but help her over the course of her lifetime, but her sister insists she's been abused. Finally, my friend decided to just tell her sister that she could choose to not be around her parents if she wanted to avoid the perceived abuse she suffers at their hands. When she finally started pointing out the choices that her narcissistic sibling actually has in this situation, her sister toned down the talk about how abusive their parents are. When you point out to your narcissistic siblings that they have a level of responsibility in any situation, it undermines their desire to play the role of the victim. They realize it won't work with you because you're pointing out where they have agency in changing the situation. Number 6. Call out lies unemotionally. Narcissistic siblings will lie routinely and for no apparent reason. They are pathological liars that seem to find enjoyment in the ability to create drama and manipulate people with lies. When you know your sibling is lying, call it out without becoming emotional. Just say something like, "That's not true." Don't get upset or become angry. Just state the truth. When you call them out in an unemotional way, you give them no recourse. They must either prove why what they're saying is true, something you know they can't do, or they will need to be quiet or change their story. If you do this consistently, they will learn that lying around you presents a danger to their image. They won't stop lying, but they will stop lying when you're around. And number 7, don't react. Narcissists are always looking for an emotional reaction. They want to trigger your emotional wounds so they can use them to manipulate and control you. When you react to something they say or do, that lets them know it's something you care about. It gives them insight into what they can do to get to you. That's why you don't want to give them any more ammunition than they already have against you. They've known you for a long time, maybe your entire life, and they already know many ways they can trigger you. Reacting emotionally to their abusive behavior lets them know they can still get your goat whenever they want to. And when you're emotionally triggered, you're more vulnerable to their manipulation. Be like a gray rock, boring and non-reactive. If you can do that, they will move on. Finally, narcissists are experts at finding out what bothers you and using it against you. Your narcissistic siblings have known you for a very long time, and they already know many ways they can trigger you. They are aware of your emotional wounds and how to push your buttons to make you like putty in their manipulative hands. But you don't have to let that continue. I've made a 5-step roadmap to heal emotional triggers caused by narcissists in your life. This free guide helps identify, diffuse, and heal your emotional wounds so they can't be used against you. Click on the link below for your copy and prevent narcissistic abuse today. Thanks for watching.